Buffalo Bills. First quarter, time winding down. Tom Brady finds tight end Matt LaCosse for an 8-yard touchdown to cap off a 75-yard drive that made it 7-3. To the fourth, now first and goal, just over 5 minutes left. Rex Burkhead, shedding 2 tacklers, gets into the end zone. Pats up 24-17. One last chance for Buffalo. Fourth and goal. Josh Allen scrambling. Tries to find Cole Beasley, but he can't. Patriots hold on to win their 11th straight AFC East title. Brady finishes with 271 yards and a touchdown. All right, Nick, did this game prove that we actually can trust the playoffs, the Patriots now in the playoffs?
It did not prove it to me. I still think they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. I believe they're going to lose at home against the Kansas City Chiefs in round 2. Now, what this win did do was it almost assured their first playoff game is going to be in round 2. It keeps them in position for the bye, and if they beat Miami, which we assume they will get that bye. But whether it proved it to me or not, let me do something I haven't done very often over the last 10 weeks because they haven't deserved it very often. Let me give the Patriots, most notably the guy over my shoulder, Tom Brady, immense credit. This was the best game Tom Brady has played in at least 2 months. This was the best game the Patriots have played in at least 2-point conversion play at the very end, which was a critical play. That whole last drive's different.
Yep.
If you're up 5 instead of up 7. Up 7, you can play with more confidence. You can maybe take a few more chances because you know a touchdown doesn't beat you. That 2-point conversion play to Edelman was sensational. That play to pass to Matt LaCosse. LaCosse isn't some great player. That was great. And he avoided the rush. He threw the ball away when he needed to. You didn't have to hear the announcers blaming his receivers for all his missed throws because he wasn't missing throws. I thought this was the best game we have seen Tom Brady play, honestly, against quality opponent since the Chargers playoff game in the divisional round last year. So I still don't believe in the Patriots. In fact, my gut tells me this game is, especially as more people seem to be jumping onto, could Tom Brady be a Charger next year, something we talked about a few weeks ago. I do wonder, Broussard, if this will be remembered as Tom Brady's last great Patriot performance, especially against a quality opponent. I'll mark that down and see if we come back to it. But he was sensational. The team was excellent. And that Bills team is legit. And they beat them. They didn't beat them handily. The Bills had plenty of opportunities. But the Patriot offense, against what I consider to be an excellent defense, performed at a higher level than they have since October, at least.
If by trust you mean, are the Patriots now the favorite in the AFC to get back to the Super Bowl? No. I don't trust them, if that's what you mean by trust. If by trust you mean they have a legitimate shot at winning the AFC, and you wouldn't be surprised in the least if they win the AFC, then yes, I trust them. I'm giving them a legitimate shot. And everything you said, Nick, you're right. But why? Why all of a sudden out of the blue? Why this team that has struggled, and I'm not saying, as you brought up before in the past, that they're holding back during the regular season, that they just, they're hiding things. They're not, exposing their full arsenal and things like that in the regular season. I'm saying this team is a bunch of gamers. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, the leaders of that team, they make those guys gamers. So it's no coincidence that, as you said, Brady has his best game, arguably, of the season. It's no coincidence that all of a sudden this team that wasn't that physical apparently on the offensive end is able to out-physical the Buffalo Bills, who are one of the greatest defensive teams in the league. They run all of a sudden for 150 yards. Sony Michel, Buffalo stacked the box. And Sony Michel is still able to run for almost 100 yards on 21 carries. So the fact that they were able to do all those things, the fact that Tom Brady finds 7 different receivers for 3 or more catches. The fact that it wasn't all Edelman, all James White in the passing games. He's finding all these other guys. Those aren't coincidences. They're the second team in the last 7 weeks with Baltimore to score more than 20 points against this Buffalo defense. Yep. We know we don't have any concerns about the Patriots defense. Now the offense all of a sudden is fine, just like they did against Kansas City. Gronk didn't have a good year last year, but when push came to shove, all of a sudden Gronk shows up. I think that's some of what you saw yesterday.
I mean, who cares if they hadn't done it? They did it enough to get the record they have. They did it enough to win the game they needed to win. They did it enough to put themselves in a position where they could get the first-round bye. Why don't you think they can just rinse and repeat, Nick? Why don't you think they can do what they did yesterday a couple more rounds?
The same reason I didn't think the Cowboys could duplicate the performance against the Rams. Because you are what you've been over the totality of a season.
They were that last year, Nick, though. They were 11-5. They had a worse record last year, lost to Miami.
They had a worse record last year, but what they had last year was when the passing game started to deteriorate, they transitioned who they were. They had a better offensive line. They had one of the best blocking tight ends ever who duplicated himself as one of the best, best receiving tight ends ever in Gronk. And they had that fullback they love so much in James Devlin. They have none of that this year. Again, Saturday was an excellent performance. I watched it, and I was continually impressed by the throws Brady made. And again, if the receivers all of a sudden are good enough for that performance, then I do wonder how much of the Patriots' lack of offense wasn't the receivers that everyone just wants to crush, and was the fact that the quarterback hadn't been playing well. The quarterback played great against an awesome defense on Saturday. I do not, from week 6 to 15, he was 25th or worse in every major passing category in the NFL. He was as good as, I thought he was the best quarterback of the weekend with respect to Daniel Jones this past weekend. I don't think that's going to happen again. I do think that if the Tom Curran report's right, that this could be the last season for Brady in New England. Not the last season for Brady ever. The last season for Brady in New England. This might go down as his last great Patriot game, but it was a great Patriot game. And to your guys' point, if they can do this repeatedly, that performance offensively is good enough to make the Super Bowl, because the Ravens defense, as good as it is not as good as the Bills defense. The Chiefs defense, as good as it's been playing, is not as good as the Bills defense. I just don't think, Broussard, they can repeat it. I don't think it's not who they were even against Cincinnati for the first half. It wasn't who they were the previous 5 weeks. I don't think all of a sudden they became this team. I think they played an awesome game that they had to have to keep the bye, and they performed at that level.
All I'm saying is you're talking about the quarterback like it's not Tom Brady. He can duplicate this type of performance. We've seen it time and time again. And to your point about, you are who you were the first 16 weeks, that's last year they looked bad. You could have given that same spiel a year ago. And it would have been appropriate.
But last year they had also beaten some very high-quality opponents. This year
now they've beaten Buffalo.
Oh, fair enough. And Buffalo's good. You say I'm talking like it's not Tom Brady. I think I'm the only person, one of the only people, talking like it's a 42-year-old man playing quarterback, and that's what he's looked like for the majority of this season. Saturday, he was brilliant, and no one will have more egg on their face than me. In the whole world, if he keeps this going, I wouldn't bet on it.
All right, take a break. Coming up. Hey, what's gone so wrong for the Dallas Cowboys this season? Still ahead on First Things First.
And if this staff photoshops me prematurely with egg on my face, we're